boys, girls. My name is Josh Samuel, and on the line with me, ladies and gentlemen, are two extraordinary gentlemen. On the far left, we have a gentleman hailing all the way from Spain, who is an extraordinary brother. And on the left, right beside me, ladies and gentlemen, is another extraordinary gentleman who articulates words in ways that have not yet been seen or known by man up until most recently. And his name is Jordan Ross. Brother Jordan Ross, how you doing today, brother?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you guys?
Good. Brother Fran, how you doing today, brother?
I'm good. I'm always ready to talk about things and make people mad just a little bit. Just a little bit.
All right. Well, Fran, now that you have said that you're ready to make people mad, let's make some people mad. I think Spider-Man: Homecoming is trash. No, I'm just playing. But anyway,
straight to the point. That's it.
No, here comes the dislikes. But no, Spider-Man: Homecoming I don't think is trash. But we are going to talk about briefly Spider-Man in the MCU. Brother Fran, I'll start with you. When you came out of the Amazing Spider-Man 2, I'm sure you had mixed thoughts about it. I'm sure you thought there was some good portions about it. You and I talked about it in the past, but I'm sure that you probably thought that it could have been a lot better. Would you agree or disagree?
Well, when I got out, I was crying a lot because I was really sad that Gwen died. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of emotional with movies, and that really hit me.
Right.
But overall, I felt like I really didn't get too attached to it, except for Gwen's death. Mm-hmm. But in the end, it felt like a little bit of a mess. Like, it's the same problem that Spider-Man 3 had. Like, too many villains, too many storylines. They were not developed enough, and that really hurt the movie.
Gotcha.
That's what I really felt when I got out of it.
Gotcha. Brother Jordan Ross, I'll pass the mic to you. What did you think when you first got out of the Amazing Spider-Man 2 prior to Spider-Man being shared with Sony by Sony with the MCU?
I think I had a little bit of the opposite reaction. I wasn't personally a huge fan of the Amazing Spider-Man, and so I wasn't sure how I would enjoy the second one. But I actually, it had its problems for sure. But I thought that the action was super entertaining. I thought that his costume in that one, I will attest that is the best Spider-Man costume, live action one we've gotten so far. I think that's one's perfect. Yeah, so the action and the costume, I mean, for me personally, that was enough to keep me entertained and really enjoy the movie, regardless of its problems. So, yeah, and I was curious to see where they were going to go, even though I knew that it seemed like Sony was kind of sticking their kind of fingers in the whole mess and everything.
I think it was a combination of they wanted too much too quickly for the universe. They were also focused by that point on trying to replicate, and as much as I hate to say this, they were trying to replicate the MCU success. Because, at the time there was a Spider-Woman film, there was a Venom film, which we did end up getting last year, which was a success. There was also a bunch of other spinoffs, a Black Cat spinoff with the Felicia, played by Felicity Jones, I think, in Amazing Spider-Man 2. And Sinister 6 as well, which is still currently in limbo, but it looks like that's what the MCU is trying to lead to. There was so many spinoffs and everything that, I think they just ultimately crammed so much into that film, to attest to Fran's great point earlier, that ultimately some of it did end up hitting and some of it did end up missing. And Brother Fran, I'll pass the mic to you, man. What's your thought on everything with Spider-Man as of late and going forward?
Well, I must say that Spider-Man in Civil War is great. I think that it's a great addition to the MCU and everything. But then they started off in a bad way. Like, there were some things that were really wrong with it. Like, the whole parental figure of Iron Man being his kind of uncle. It was like, that's a no-no. And he didn't say, for example, in the Spider-Man Homecomings, he didn't say the phrase of, with great power comes great responsibility.
Right.
And they had it to say it, like, just say it, all right? It's part of the character. It's really important for him. And he didn't say it. And I don't know, like I said before, seeing the trailers of Far From Home and then saying, the world needs the new Iron Man and all that stuff. It's like, no, bro. Like, they're going so wrong with the character. Like, Spider-Man has never been this Iron Man Jr. or anything like that. He's been his own guy, his own superhero. He's made himself. He doesn't need to be the pupil or Iron Man Jr. of no one. He's gotten beaten. He learned from his own mistakes. He didn't need a parental figure giving him suits or saving him in the moments that he needed it. Mm-hmm. In Spider-Man, in the comics and in the films, he always saved himself because that's part of what the character is. And that's why I think that in the future they are trying to make him the new Iron Man of the whole universe. And I kind of understand that you want to make him the central character, but overall, it's a really, really big mistake what they are doing with the whole Iron Man Jr. thing. Mm-hmm. That's the only thing that gets me mad.
All right. Brother Jordan, what's your thought on Spider-Man from 2016, starting with Civil War to now?
Oh, man. It's kind of complicated for me. I have I feel very mixed about it. I totally agree with Fran. I think the way that they've taken the character with they've made him a lot less independent, mm-hmm. and they've made him a lot more reliant on other heroes in the universe, mm-hmm. and they've almost taken away his main motivation for being Spider-Man. It seems he's not so interested in being Spider-Man because of a sense of responsibility for his gifts. But he wants to be Spider-Man because because there's Iron Man and there's the Avengers and he wants to be like them, which does, I think, that fundamentally changes that character, as Fran said. Now, I've said before on like all other kind of and any of our other discussions that I'm a huge fan of variations in characters. I like seeing different things each time, and so. I would say that's true for Spider-Man. I think what they've done with the character is interesting in the MCU. For me personally, I'm more interested in how they did it in the Raimi films. Mm-hmm. Me personally, I'm not a huge fan of the Homecoming movies and how they've taken that character, but they're pretty solid movies. They're pretty fun, just entertaining comedies, and if you can buy into that kind of core difference in Spider-Man, which is he's not Spider-Man because great power means great responsibility. He's Spider-Man because of he wants to be like Iron Man, and he wants to have that parental figure kind of approval. So if you can buy into that, and if you can just accept that, the movies work and they're enjoyable and they're fun. But I think what a lot of people, I guess what some people react to strongly against is just that main difference. And so, again, I'm not a huge fan of that direction, but I think it totally makes sense in the context of the universe. That being said, I think, it would have been so cool if in Civil War, if instead of cutting to Brooklyn, it cuts to Sam Raimi's New York and we see Tobey Maguire, or even if we saw Andrew Garfield, I think that would have felt a little more, I guess, earned for me, because prior to then we had never seen Spider-Man before and he really just came out of nowhere. But if that character had been Spider-Man for a long time, that would have made a little more sense in terms of like giving him his moment in Civil War. But that, I mean, now I'm just rambling, but yeah, I'm mixed. I think it's good. I think there's some good stuff. I think there's some not so good stuff. But it is what it is.
No, but you're right in what you said about Iron Man coming to him, and he's an experienced Spider-Man and everything. Like in Civil War, that's like it's not a Spider-Man problem. It's like a Civil War problem when Tony Stark is like, we have to sign these accords because this kid died and his mother came to me and he said that, oh, poor guy, he died because he was a kid. And 20 minutes later, he's recruiting a guy to fight older men who's like 15 to die. It's like, all right, bro. Like, all right.
That's actually hilarious. I'd never thought of that before.
I mean, it's not a Spider-Man problem, it's a Civil War plot problem, but, for all those people who say, Civil War is flawless and Batman v Superman is a cinematic mess, that movie has problems too, and there's nothing wrong about accepting them. That's all I had to say.
What did you guys think about Civil War? That's a good discussion point, Fran. What did you think about Civil War and all the shenanigans, all the bringing together of the heroes, the airport fight sequences? What did you think about Civil War, brother Jordan?
I liked it. I didn't love it.
Same.
It's a movie. I think at the time, I can't remember where I saw this, but I remember reading that this was written by someone in the Snyder BVS fandom. They were saying that Civil War is a great movie upon first watch, and it's an easy watch, but it doesn't hold up quite so well as like, whereas BVS is a much the rewatching BVS gives it a much richer experience for that movie, whereas Civil War is a fun, like, kind of first watch kind of movie. Mm-hmm. And so for me, when I saw it, I thought that because remember, BVS had just come out not too soon before, so I was totally like still in BVS mode. So seeing Civil War it didn't do it for me quite the same way. But it's a fun Marvel movie. It's it's. I'm trying not to be overly critical because I don't want to sound overly critical.
Go ahead, bro.
But it's yeah, it's
overrated.
Go for it. There's no one with a gun.
Here's what I'll say. I don't think it worked as well as BVS. I'll just say that. I think BVS was a much more well-made movie. Mm-hmm. I'll say that. I'll leave it at that.
That's a hot take for the internet. Yeah. Not for us, really.
No,
I think we too agree with what we just said.
I mean, I'm preaching to the choir pretty much at this point.
Brother Fran, what's your thought on Civil War and all the shenanigans, the airport sequence, oranges, and everything else?
I mean, if you don't compare it with VVS, it's. I mean, what Jordan said, like, on first watch, it's a good movie, an entertainment movie. All right, like every MCU movie, it's like that. But most of them, except for example, Infinity War or Winter Soldier, they don't have rewatchability. Like, right. You see it one time, go to the cinema with your friends, see it, it's alright, you forget about it next day. And Civil War, I don't know, like, it has problems, it has plot problems, it has some things that don't really work, but I mean, it's entertaining. But when people are always, in a lot of YouTube videos, I've seen the comparison of VBS versus Civil War, why one worked and the other one didn't. Mm-hmm. It's like Civil War didn't really work that well. Like, there are some plot points, for example, what I said with the kid and Spider-Man, that people usually overlook, and it's not something that you should overlook, because it's a crucial point in the storyline, because that's the moment when Tony Stark really decides to create those accords and sign them, and in 20 minutes later he's doing the exact same opposite. So for me, that's a little bit of a plot hole, or something was wrong with the script there. But people tend to overlook that, and when it comes to VVS, they are like, oh, this is wrong, and this plot point is stupid, oh, Martha. Yeah. It's like, yo, accept that Civil War has its problems. You can enjoy it, of course, but don't be as blind to say it's perfect and BVS is shit. And I'm just making this comparison because everyone seems to compare them, and that's logical because they came out like 3 months from each other.
And because
But
they're so similar.
Yeah, I mean the plot and everything. I mean, I saw that people say that Geoff Johns leaked the script to Marvel and anything like that. I don't really believe that, but yeah, they are very similar. And with one of them, you can sit on it and everyone is going to laugh and agree. But when you sit on the other one, everyone is like, you don't know anything about cinema, and it's like, all right. What did you think of it, Josh?
Civil War, it's overrated.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna get buried with dislikes, but you know I live for the dislike button, so bring them on. I think it's good, but I think it's very overrated. Pretty much everything both of you guys said is spot on. For me, the only highlights in Civil War, Black Panther, Spider-Man's introduction, the fight scene with Bucky, Iron Man, and Cap towards the end, which was oddly replicated and used again in Endgame, but that's a whole nother video. But yeah, man, overall, I just think as a sequel, it's not it. See, I'm trying to be careful because I don't want to get buried alive by MCU fanboys. I'm trying to be careful. I think The Winter Soldier is not only a better Captain America sequel, I think it's also a better Captain America movie. And I also think that Civil War is just another Avengers movie with Captain America in the title. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I completely agree with you in that. Like, it's Avengers 3, but they want to call it Avengers 3, so they call it Civil War. And it's like, alright. I love it when people say, you know, the Captain America trilogy. It's like, it's not a trilogy, bro. Like, just because it says Captain America on the title doesn't mean that it's a Captain America movie. Because I think that Iron Man appears on screen more than Cap does.
Yeah.
So,
you got paid the most, ironically.
Yeah.
Right. So, would you guys agree? And I'll start with you, Fran. And I believe I asked you this in our very interesting Spider-Man debate video we made a few months back. Would you agree that if it were not for Michael Keaton, that Spider-Man Homecoming would lose some of its goodness?
Yeah, I mean, basically because his presence on a screen brings something really different to the movie. Mm-hmm. Like because without him, the film feels a little bit bland. Like there's no threat in it. But the way he portrays the character and the way he seems intimidating and then the way he acts, that is really good. Mm-hmm. Like everyone talks about it, the car scene when he's giving the speech to Peter, mm-hmm. Like, you know, I know who you are and don't do stupid shit and everything. I felt threatened, you know, I felt the tension. And when Peter comes to his house and he's there like, oh, what, you want something for dinner? I really felt that. Like, I was in the cinema and I was scared. I was like, yo, he's going to kill him or something. I really felt the threat there. So I completely agree with what you say, because without him, without that threat, the movie would have been even more bland than it already is. So I think that is what kind of saves the movie in a way. That conflict and the way he's acted and everything, I think that's what saves it.
Mm-hmm. And it's not necessarily a diss towards Tom Holland or anybody in the movie, because I like Tom Holland. I just think that they could do better in terms of writing with his character. And not only that, but you gotta think about it, Fran and Jordan Ross. And Jordan Ross, obviously I'm gonna get to you as well. You know, they put Iron Man in the movie purely for the reason is, you know, they thought it's a gamble making a Spider-Man movie in the MCU. It was a gamble at the time. I'm sure people were like, oh yeah, like they are now with the X-Men, the MCU is so gonna get Spider-Man right. They will never do Spider-Man wrong. And as soon as the movie came out, people were saying, oh, well, you know, I think they should have did it more like the Raimi films, or, oh, this isn't Spider-Man. So it's clearly a never-ending battle. And once again, Fran, I cut you off as soon as you were about to say something. I do apologize, brother. Go ahead.
No, I was going to ask you a question, but that can wait. I think that we should get the point of view of Michael Keaton on Jordan's side. So
Brother
let's see
Jordan.
what he has to say about it.
Michael Keaton, I don't think. I mean, yeah, I think I agree with you. I think his performance elevated that role for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if his performance elevated the movie, because it kind of would if Michael. I think the way that role was written was pretty compelling compared to a lot of the other MCU villains. Mm-hmm. So the way he was written, first off, that was actually really interesting. So I think there's a lot of other people who could have played the role, but they probably wouldn't have made it as interesting or as compelling. I think if Michael Keaton isn't in that movie, say it's like Brendan Fraser or it's someone else, like I think the right actor could have made it interesting and enjoyable, and I don't think the whole movie really hinges on him so much as it does with the high school Peter Parker stuff. But that's just my opinion, of course.
Okay. Where would you guys rank Far From Home in your Spider-Man film rankings? And brother Jordan, I'll start with you. Where does it rank among every Spider-Man film, including the great movie Venom? Where would you rank?
Cinematic masterpiece that is Venom.
Where would you rank? Where would you rank it, brother?
I forgot that. Yeah, I forgot about Venom. I actually like Venom. I don't know about you guys, but I thought it was a pretty fun movie.
Yeah, I do too.
I would say for me, I recently rewatched all the Raimi films. I need to rewatch the Andrew Garfield movies, and along with the Tom Holland ones. For me, I think Spider-Man 2 is still at the top.
Yep.
I think my number 2 spot is tied with the first Spider-Man and Spider-Verse, because they're so different origin stories, but they're both really well-made origin stories. I think. See, this is where I throw people off, because I enjoy big parts. The parts that I enjoy in Spider-Man 3, I think I enjoy those more than the overall experience of the other Spider-Man movies. So, I get maybe Homecoming's number 3, followed not too far behind by Spider-Man 3. It's kind of hard because I haven't rewatched all the movies in such a long time. But I think Homecoming would probably be somewhere in the middle, or kind of closer to the top in the middle, if that makes sense for me.
Okay.
Well, I mean, that alpha dancing it's a really fun and interesting part of Spider-Man 3.
Oh, you know what I realized about Spider-Man 3 rewatching it? That movie is stuffed with jokes and humor that feels so out of place with the first 2 movies, but they feel right in line with the MCU. It's crazy. Like, every joke that they made in Spider-Man 3 is something that I could foresee them doing in a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie. So if you guys get the chance, rewatch it and let me know what you think about the humor, because the humor feels very tonally consistent with the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, I will need to look it up again. Like, I've seen Spider-Man 3 lots of times, like when it came out on DVD. But yeah, I will need to rewatch. I think I'm going to rewatch the 3 of them, the 3 Raimi films, because they are really, really good. What's your ranking, Josh, of the Spider-Man films? He's preparing for the dislikes. Let's get ready, boys.
Well, coincidentally enough, today is the anniversary of it, and Brother Jordan, you are correct. Not only is Spider-Man 2 the top Spider-Man movie, but it is one of the best superhero movies, in my opinion, of all time, and that likely will not change. Second is going to be... Second is going to be Into the Spider-Verse for sure. Third is going to be either Third is going to be either The Amazing Spider-Man 1. Oh, what do you mean? The Amazing Spider-Man 1 or Homecoming. Fourth is going to be Spider-Man 1. Fifth is going to be The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Sixth is going to be Spider-Man 3. And seventh is going to be Venom. I'm sorry.
You are really putting The Amazing Spider-Man 2 over Spider-Man 3. Do you really want to go there, Josh?
We did.
Are you for real? Are you for real, Josh?
I can't help it, man. It gets me. Mark Webb gets me. Shout out to Mark Webb, even though he made Peter Parker too good looking or something like that.
Look at me. I'm supposed to be Peter Parker, but I'm this cool guy who skates and gets the girl in the first time I talk to her.
Hey, he fought Electro, man. He fought Electro.
No, I'm talking about the first one, man.
Oh.
When he's like, yeah, I'm this cool kid, I'm skating around, and I'm supposed to be Peter Parker, and I get the hot girl the first time I talk to her. It's like, okay, bro. Like, whatever. But I'm not going to get into that. I'm going to give my ranking, yeah. I mean, obviously, the first one is going to be Spider-Man 2. Like, when I was like 4 or 5, I purposely bought a DVD player just for that movie. Like, I must have seen that movie, like, no exaggeration, like 30 or 40 times. When I was a kid, I was watching it all the time. The second one is going to be like a tie-up between the first Spider-Man and Into the Spider-Verse. Like, I saw Into the Spider-Verse with my brother the other day, and it's really good.
It is.
Like, I didn't expect, when I saw it in the cinema, I didn't really expect it to be that good. And it really impressed me how not only the animation is, but the whole story, the feelings, everything. It really moves you. So that's what I look for when I see a movie.
Video coming soon.
The fourth one is probably going to be Spider-Man 3. Then probably the first Amazing Spider-Man, then Homecoming, and then the Amazing Spider-Man 2, and then the Amazing Spider-Man 2 and Venom are tied up there in the 8th or 7th place. Venom is enjoyable, but when you compare it to the rest of the movies, it is not comparable. Like, it's a fun movie to see 1 or 2 times, and that's it. There's nothing really more to it.
I got you.
I got a question for you, Josh, that I think that you're gonna like, and of course Jordan can answer it too.
Go ahead.
And I think that you're gonna like the question. And it is, do you think that it should have been better to have Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man in the MCU? Like, connect the universes, and instead of having this 14 or 15-year-old Spider-Man again, they should have gone with this kind of more experienced Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. Because I know you really like those movies, so I wanted to know that.
Well... Yeah, you're right. I like this question. When the whole Sony is creatively sharing or whatever, I don't have enough time to get into it. When it was first announced, I was like, damn, they definitely could have included Andrew Garfield, and I thought it was the best idea in the world. And I just had an image of him, sharing banter with Iron Man at the time. So, yeah, initially when the deal was announced, I was really bummed out. I was like, damn, they could have included him. But now, I'm like, I don't know how that will work out now, because they're going with the way they wanted Spider-Man set up in the MCU, with him being so youthful and whatever. I guess I'm okay with it. But initially, yes, I did want to see that. And I do hope they can bring all 3 of the actors together at some point, whether that's in, well, I guess 4 if you include Miles Morales should make more. Whether that's in animated form, whether that's in the MCU movies down the line, whether that's like Tobey Maguire saying, hey, pizza time, and Andrew Garfield saying, "Oh, you found my weakness is small knives," and Tom Holland saying "Queens" or something like that. You know, if they could bring them all together at some point, that'd be really cool. But to answer your question, Fran, yes, initially, but now I'm accepting of it, and Andrew Garfield has gone on to do great things with movies like Hacksaw Ridge and other shit, so I'm happy about that. But yeah, initially I was real salty about that shit because he's my Spider-Man.
You're Spider-Man. All right. Jordan, what do you think about it?
I think so. I get why they made it Tom Holland. I get why they wanted to create a new Spider-Man because they had a whole world that it wasn't about making a good Spider-Man necessarily, or like the truest form of Spider-Man. It was about making a Spider-Man that made sense and fit into the Marvel universe, because the first Avengers doesn't really make sense if you suddenly reveal that Spider-Man has been around for a long time. Although that would have been kind of cool to see a flashback to the first Avengers and Spider-Man is secretly saving people and doing stuff. So they needed to have a Spider-Man that fit into their universe. So I get why it was a new Spider-Man. However, the way that they used Spider-Man in Civil War, I think, as I said before, I think that his role, Spider-Man's role in Civil War, would have been so much better if it had been a previously established Spider-Man character. Mm-hmm. Because, you know, again, bringing it back to BVS, people say that Wonder Woman is shoehorned into BVS. I completely disagree. She's set up from the very beginning. She's not suddenly revealed to be Wonder Woman. It's a slow reveal. They have her in a couple scenes. They set up what her motivation is, and then it's revealed that she's actually Diana Prince, and she comes to save the day. That was set up in the movie. With Civil War, Tony Stark is just like, we need help. Oh, wait, I know a guy. Cuts to Queens, cuts to this kid who we've never seen before. We have no idea who he is. Yet, the movie plays on, I guess, our pop culture knowledge of Peter Parker. So, I mean, it works, and we understand that it's Peter Parker. We don't need to see his origin story. But I think, man, just wouldn't it have been better if Andrew Garfield popped up on screen? Wouldn't it have been better if Tobey Maguire was suddenly walking around? Because we've been there with the character. We've seen those characters from multiple movies. Mm-hmm. His appearance would have felt earned. Whereas in Civil War, it feels suddenly like, oh, here's Spider-Man. Here you go, guys.
Yeah.
Which, it's great and it's cool, but like, I mean, it doesn't feel earned. Whereas an actor who previously portrayed Spider-Man, we would have felt that in our hearts. We would have felt that kind of feeling of excitement in the theater if suddenly, you know, we see Andrew Garfield or Tobey Maguire, and, you know, the scene, and I'm thinking about it, like, picture like Tony Stark flirting with Rosemary Harris, Aunt May, super old woman, and she's just like completely embarrassed and smitten with him. Like, that would have been funny, whereas they keep sexualizing young Aunt May, Aunt MILF as I like to call her. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I don't know. Again, I'm rambling, but I think that the way that they used Spider-Man in Civil War would have been better if it had been an actor who previously played him. And I think that, you know, they didn't know they were going to get Spider-Man for the rest of the universe. It's not like Homecoming was planned way back in the day when they first started the Avengers. So really, that Homecoming movie, that could have been however they wanted. It didn't need to be Peter Parker as a young boy. You know, but I guess that's the direction they wanted to go. So I think they could have done without the... I think they totally could have gotten away with having one of the other Spider-Men here. That's my thoughts.
Gotcha.
Well, if they had Tobey Maguire appear on the screen, I would fucking scream like a little girl. I assure you that.
Tobey Maguire, man, those are memories of the childhood, and yeah, I love Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 1, it's okay and everything, but enough about Spider-Man 2.